Bonjour and welcome everyone to Living the French Dream. Before we start, I wanted to thank our sponsors, France Formation and Currencies Direct. We are so glad to have you with us for this very special online event, a cost-free pathway to better understanding the realities of moving to France. Whether you're just starting to explore the idea or already refining your strategy, this 5-day series of free online conferences is designed to give you clarity and bring you dream closer to reality. Together, we'll cover essential topics such as getting a visa, planning the moving process, wealth management, and real estate. We will also take you on a tour of different regions of France so you can begin imagining where you might want to settle down or even find your perfect pied-à-terre. Today, we are delighted to be joined by our expert guest, Antony Bryan from Beaux. Born and raised in the UK, Antony made the move to France 25 years ago. As a real estate agent, he has helped hundreds of vendors find the right buyers and successfully move on to their next chapter. His perspective is both professional and deeply personal, exactly the kind of insight that makes this series so valuable. So thank you again for joining us. Let's dive in, and please join me in welcoming Antony Bryan. Hi, Antony.
Hi, good afternoon, and thank you very much.
Did you hear the round of applause when I mentioned your name?
I was listening very carefully. So they're a long way away, so maybe it didn't come through. Thank you very much for the intro.
Thank you, Antony. You've been living in France for 25 years now, as I mentioned, 20 years in real estate. We are all ears.
23 now, actually, and counting, and it's now 26 going on 27 years in France.
Beautiful. Before you start your presentation, I wanted to mention to our audience that if you have any questions, do not hesitate to write them down in the chat, and we'll be very happy to ask them to Antony at the end of his 15 minutes around presentation.
Thank you very much.
And one more thing before we start. I mentioned the sponsors. We have videos. We'll be right.
Bonjour and welcome. I'm Alison Lunès, founder of Your Transformation, and we're thrilled to be sponsoring this year's Dream Life in France Summit with Frenchly. At Your Transformation, we help individuals, couples, and families turn their dream of living in France into reality with expert support for visa applications, relocation planning, and everything that comes after you arrive in France. Whether you're just starting to explore your move or you're ready to take the leap, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Start by checking out our book, Foolproof French Visas, and attending one of our free monthly Q&A sessions. And let's start making your dream life in France happen together.
Antony, the floor is yours, as they say.
Great. Thank you very much, Frankie, and thanks to the sponsors for this evening. Hi, everyone. As you've heard from Frankie's introduction, my name's Antony Bryan. I am a real estate agent based in the southwest of France, and I've been here for getting on for 27 years now, and been working in real estate for 23, going on 24 years now. So I've got a pretty deep depth of knowledge, which I hope that I can share with you. If you have questions, obviously we're going to have time at the end to get into as much of that as we can. To give you a brief overview, I work for Beaux Immobilier. Beaux is a company that operates throughout the southwest with regional offices and getting on for 200 independent property consultants that we work with in the region and locally. I'll give you more information as we go along. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So Beaux, who are we? We were established in 2008. We are a local estate agency, but also an international estate agency. We've won many European awards and international awards, operating as a bilingual estate agency for the international market in southwest France, now into Occitanie and Provence region. We cover 29 areas, and as I said, we've got getting on towards 200 independent property consultants. We offer a vast knowledge of the local area that will help you as a buyer all the way through your property purchase and beyond. We have an international reach, so we can, for our vendors, touch international markets that many of the local agents can't. And through our deep training and expertise, we have a very deep professional integrity. Could we go to the next slide, please? So at Beaux Immobilier, we help people buy and sell property across France by providing a professional, straightforward and responsive service. Our goal is to make the process as smooth and stress-free as possible, listening to our clients, offering honest and impartial advice, and working together as a team. We take pride in our local expertise, international reach, and commitment to high standards, ensuring that every client is supported throughout their journey. And often it's a very long journey. So we offer a smooth, stress-free property transaction service, honest and impartial advice. We are supportive and collaborative. We work as a team. We have a wealth of in-house legal advice that we can offer you, and we will help you all the way through your purchase process until you get to the next stage and go beyond. Once you've got keys in hand, we will be there for you beyond that as well. Can we go to the next stage, please? Okay, so the reason why I guess you're all here is because you're looking at buying a place in France and you may be not sure where to be, not sure where you want to end up, and a lot of factors come into play. I'm based in the southwest. I'm in the South Dordogne. I'm about an hour and 20 minutes inland from the city of Bordeaux, and the area I operate in is the Dordogne area into the Gironde and the Lot-et-Garonne. Now, these are departments of France which you may or may not have heard of, and areas that you may or may not have heard of, but we'll cover a little bit of that a bit later on in my presentation when I talk about the areas. So most people who are looking to move to France are looking for a certain quality of lifestyle. And what we offer in Southwest France is a quality of life which is one of the best in Europe. It's a pace of life which is, let's call it relaxed. Not always, but it is certainly more relaxed than the vast majority, I guess, of what most of you will experience or have experienced before. The local culture, the cuisine, the wine, the history, all things which are intrinsic to maybe perhaps characteristics of what you're looking for in a French purchase. It's all on offer here in the Southwest. In terms of the geography and the topography, the regions around here are just absolutely fantastic. The types of properties on offer, they're countryside retreats, farmhouses, chateau, coastal homes, because we cover the coast as well. We've got beautiful old historic towns dating back 800-900 years. We've got the vineyards, we've got all sorts of things on offer. We've got forests, beaches, everything. It's such a wealthy area in terms of what you can find here. In terms of the life here and living on a day-to-day basis, the people are very, very welcoming. There are many communities within the local towns and villages. We all work together. There are, for you as expats, there are established expat networks, particularly if you're an American buyer. There are American expat networks as well as the local ones. Why do we live where we do? Because it offers such a lot. As well as all that, there is an excellent healthcare system. It's a very safe, clean living place to live. We have very low crime rates. Healthcare is fantastic. What more can I say? It's a fantastic place to live. It's a great place to bring children up if you've families. It's one of the best places, as I said, in Europe. And for those that enjoy their leisure pursuits, there is plenty of outdoor activity here. One of the biggest being cycling for those who enjoy that type of thing. There's canoeing on the rivers. There's an abundance of that. There's the walking. There's just beautiful scenery. There's all sorts of things that we can offer in the Southwest that hopefully will grab your attention. Next slide, please. Investment and financial benefits of moving to France. Well, we've got a very stable real estate market in France. It doesn't fluctuate. It doesn't go up hugely. It doesn't go down hugely. There are no big waves that you see on many property markets. It's a steady climb, and it has been ongoing since I've been in the real estate market here. It just increases gradually year on year. The property values are extremely, I wouldn't say low compared to the US, because there are hotspots around the area as well, but the rural properties are extremely good value when you compare it to US markets in particularly nice places to live. For those of you looking to earn money from your property, you might be looking for a rental business. It's a very strong tourist area. Throughout much of southwest of France, there are hotspots of tourism as well, and we can go into that if that's of interest to you. We have a wealth of different property styles. The architecture is absolutely stunning. The stone of the properties, the grandeur of some of the chateaus, the historic, just the villages are just the feel of the history within them when you walk down them. And then you've got the currency advantage of a favorable US dollar euro exchange rate, which has increased or can increase the purchasing power for you as US buyers. Next slide, please. Okay, so buying in France, I guess these are questions that you'll be asking yourselves. Can we as Americans or Northern Americans buy in France? Well, there are no restrictions for you to buy property. It's entirely a free market, and as long as you are not governed by certain restrictions, then there are no restrictions here within France. If you're looking to stay for over 90 days, then you're going to need long stay visas. I'm sure that this is covered in other webinars, but those can be discussed and talked about. Mortgages are available here for you as US buyers. The banks are usually looking at a 30% deposit, i.e. cash bringing as a percentage of the purchase. And don't forget, there are additional costs on top of the property price that you see on the market. So you've got your notary fees and the registration and land registry fees. And we'll go into that in a little more detail. Next slide, please. Okay, so some of you will know a little bit about the buying process, others less, I guess. But basically, there is a very simple and clean buying process in France, which is generally governed by the law. And once you've found your property and you've locked in on it, it's a very clean process to get to the finishing stages and the final contract and keys in hand. So once you've set yourself an area where you're focused on and you want to look into it and discover more, then us as a company, we can offer you personalized property tours. We're the people on the ground, and we can give you guided discovery trips throughout the region, pointing out things of interest that might be of appeal to you. Once you've found a property, let's say, or once you've found several properties, you get to the offer stage, and you might pick out of a short list number one, and you want to negotiate on it. If we can help successfully negotiate a purchase for you or a price that is comfortable for you and the vendor, then the next stage is to sign what's called a compromis de vente, which is a pre-contract. And from that point on, a vendor is locked in, and you have a further 10 days within which to change your mind if you so wish. And it's called the 10-day cooling off period. Once that is passed, you're locked in, subject to all the searches coming through clean on your behalf. From that point, the notaire does his legal due diligence, and he is a legally appointed body, and he is there who operates on behalf of the government to make sure that the taxes are paid on the property for both a vendor and a buyer. But he also looks into ownership and clean title, debts, etc., and zoning if there's anything outstanding in the area which might impact the property. And he'll also make sure that the inspections are up to date and help you through the purchase process. Depending on how you're buying, financing or direct cash, then you will need to discuss with currency specialist if you're converting dollars into euros, because it could save you a lot of money rather than going through the banks. Once all the notaire's side is done and he's done his due diligence and looked into everything to do with the ownership and done all the searches, then we proceed to the final act, at which point he will call the money in from you as a buyer a few days before the act, and upon signature you will have the keys and legal ownership, and all then funds will be securely transferred from his account into the vendor's account. Then after the sale, he will deal with the registration, the taxes that are payable, and then from that point on, it's up to us as an agency to give you help with ongoing support to make sure that you are set up moving forward in your new home or your new second home. Next slide, please. Okay, so we'll talk about the financial side of things now, make sure that you know how much it costs you as a buyer. So the price that you negotiate, the price that is advertised of the property, and these are wide ranging depending on the region, the size, the type, the area, the proximity to facilities and amenities, all that type of stuff. The purchase price will include the agency fees, which is my company's. So whatever you see advertised, generally you will see inclusive of agency fees. On top of this, if you're looking at negotiating, you've got to account for the notary fees, which are the legal fees, and these generally range between 7 and 8% for a purchase. So if you work on 8%, you won't be wrong. And then if you're buying off-plan a new build, perhaps, which is not generally available in the rural areas, but more in the towns and cities, then you will pay lower notary fees because it's generally it's a different market, and it's a clean title, a much cleaner title. Land registry and administrative fees, these are generally covered within the notary fees. If they're separate, which I highly doubt they are, then they will be costed up by the notaire and presented to you. As a buyer, you may wish to have a property survey done, so you may be looking to check into the integrity of the structure of the building, and if that is the case, then account for between 1,000 and 3,000 euros on top of your purchase fee. Next slide, please. Sticking with finance, currency exchange transfer costs, as I mentioned earlier, be wary of how much you have to spend. You're looking at things in US dollars, but you will be buying in euros. So the exchange rates will vary. At the moment, they're going up and down quite a bit because of the unrest in the market. In a much stabler market, they perhaps don't vary as much. However, there are companies that can offer you specialist transfer services and advice moving forward so that you know how much you will have to spend in euros. I would advise that you get into conversation with someone so you know what your budget will be. As I said, mortgage and financing options, they are available. If you're a cash buyer, it's a very simple and clean purchase process. It's generally quicker than if you have a mortgage. If you have a mortgage, it can delay the purchase process by a month, 6 weeks sometimes, and you will always be asked to have a certain amount of equity to put down to purchase the property, which is generally up to 30% of the value. Upon purchase, you will become liable for the taxes on the property. This has to be taken into account. The taxe foncière is the local land tax, and that can vary according to the size of your property. And bear in mind, ask these questions when you're looking at property, how much this is, so you can budget for it moving forward and put it into your yearly planning. You will also, if it's not a principal residence, you will have habitation tax, which is a standard tax for secondary residences. And again, this can be a significant amount of money, so you need to budget for that. Then you'll need to look at, obviously, the management costs moving forward and the utilities and everything else. So these are questions you need to be asking us as agents to help you through the process. Budget an extra 10-12% on top of the purchase price for fees, taxes, and anything else you might want to get, for instance, quotes for work moving forward from contractors, all that type of thing. We can help you with it all. Just make sure that we're aware that as things progress, we can help you through the process to make it run as smoothly as possible. Next slide, please. Probably what you're all here for is why and where. So, as I said, we're Southwest. I'm based in the South Dordogne on the borders of the Lot-et-Garonne. Now, these are departments, probably similar to a state in the US, although we're governed by, in terms of the law, is the law of the country, but we have local, state or departmental regulation which governs the finances of the department and influences things like health, education, tourism and that sort of thing. So as I mentioned, I'm based in the Dordogne, on the borders of the Lot-et-Garonne, also on the borders of the Gironde. It might mean something to you, but as a pointer, I'm about an hour and 20 minutes due east from the city of Bordeaux. So pretty much in the heart of the Southwest. What do we have in our area? Well, we've got beautiful countryside, we've got lush forests, we've got scenic rivers. Probably many of you have heard of the rivers in the area. It's a big part of us as a region. Many of the departments are named after the rivers. In fact, most of them are. We've got the villages, the history, the castles. We've got the gastronomy. We've got the wines. We've got the lifestyle. We've got the outdoor life. We've got pretty much everything. And one thing we do have is a peaceful environment. We're not overrun. We have space on the roads. We're not bustling with traffic. If you see a traffic light, it's a rarity. It's just a fabulous place to be. You don't pay for parking. If I want to catch the train into Bordeaux, I can take my car up to the train station about 20 minutes away, and I pay nothing for parking. I leave it there all day. Even if I go on holiday, I can leave it there for a few days. Not a problem. What type of properties do we have? Well, I guess most of you will be looking for the charm and tradition of old France, and that's what we can offer. It's those beautiful honey-coloured stone properties, which the slanting roofs or the pantile roofs, and the characterful interiors, traditional architecture with lots and lots of French character. What do we do on a daily basis? Well, I work, but I guess a lot of you moving here will be looking to enjoy the lifestyle. So there's a weekly market in pretty much every village where you can buy all your fresh produce. You can meet up with friends, have a coffee and a chat and enjoy a little bit of the culture. There's loads of seasonal festivals celebrating wines, the food, the local traditions, music festivals, all sorts of things going on. And you've got, within a short drive of pretty much everywhere, you've got things to do in the area. So if you've got visitors, there's tons and tons of things you can do. We've got offices in the area. I'm based in Aimé, and we also have offices in Sala, which is a very touristy, probably the most touristy part of the Dordogne. Office at Bergerac at the airport, and an office in Montflancan, which is a beautiful historic hilltop Bastide town. Next slide, please. Okay, talk a little bit now about Bordeaux. I don't know if you know it, but if you don't, it is one of the most beautiful cities in France. Architecturally stunning, often called a mini Paris, often used in films and scenes for films when they can't afford to shoot in Paris or there's too many people in Paris, so they will section a part of Bordeaux off, as they did a couple of months ago, and shoot Les Miserables. It's world famous for wine, probably what you will all know it for. The vineyards are beautiful, the wines are fabulous, the area around the vineyards very, very scenic and beautiful, and obviously the rivers as well, the main rivers being the Dordogne and the Garonne and the Gironde. Bordeaux's easy striking distance over to the Atlantic coast for the surfing beaches and the beautiful oyster shacks and the fabulous lifestyle that offers. The types of property, the stone is more traditional. It's a cut stone generally, so square blocks. Again, equally as beautiful, but different in style slightly in terms of the architecture. It's more classic French than rustic French. What does the lifestyle offer in this area? Well, pretty much the same as everywhere else, unless you're in the city itself, and then you have the city culture, which is just fabulous. My daughter's at lycée or end of finishing school in Bordeaux. And you've got the transport links from the city as well. It's got an international airport. You've got a 2-hour high-speed TGV link direct into Paris, which is fabulous, and it runs every half hour throughout the day. So really well connected. So a great city to have on your doorstep. Next slide, please. Occitanie or Occitanie. This is more southerly. It's a different type of feel, a different vibe. It's slightly more Mediterranean in its influence. It's a slightly warmer climate. It's a slightly drier place to be. Similar type of lifestyle because it's still a rural community. You have a beautiful topography. There's lots of rocky outcrops. It's a bit more, I would say, probably wild in certain areas. You're at the foothills of the mountains, the Pyrenees. You've got the Mediterranean on your doorstep. So in terms of culture, it's slightly different. It's a little bit more Spanish in its style, tapasy, that type of thing. But you have the lovely vineyards as well. You've got great holiday destinations there. Great for those who are looking for the warmer climates and the year-round sort of guaranteed sunshine. I think you're looking at 300 days sunshine down in most of that area. Next slide, please. Okay, brief weather overview, so you have an idea of what it's like year-round. Southwest, where I am, we are influenced largely by the Atlantic, so we have a humid climate, so it stays green pretty much year-round, although the summers are warm and increasingly warm. But when I say humid, it's not humid that it's unbearable. The winters are generally mild because of the Atlantic influence, so frosts are fairly rare. The further north you go in the southwest, yes, you get more. The more towards the coast, the less you get. But generally, you're looking at an average of around 8 degrees in the depths of winter. And if it's cold, if it is frosty, then it's always a nice, bright, sharp, sunny day that you can enjoy the outdoors. Down in Occitanie, as I said, the winters are a little bit milder because you've got the Mediterranean influence, and you've got a couple of degrees warmer in the inland bit than we have here over towards the sort of Atlantic. And then further down on the Mediterranean, you're probably 5 degrees warmer in the summer, averaging probably around 30 to 35. But the winters are also milder. And then obviously if you climb up into the mountains, you've got the mountain the mountain sort of climate, which is cold winters, skiing on your doorstep, if that's your thing, and but cooler summers. Next slide, please. Okay, so I don't know if you can all see that close up. It gives you an idea of the area. So you've got Bordeaux out on the Atlantic coast to the west, moving south through to Toulouse, and then across to the Mediterranean. That's sort of the band that we're talking about here. Our offices are all centered in and around those areas, and also moving a little further north. As I said, connectivity. Toulouse has an international airport with direct flights to the US. Bordeaux international as well, with international domestic. They're your two major airports. And then you've got other regional airports with links generally more to sort of London through Bergerac, Carcassonne and the likes. Train connectivity in France is pretty good. As I said, Bordeaux, Paris, 2 hours. It's not bad for several hundred kilometers, 500, I think. Montpellier, Bordeaux, I think that's probably 600 kilometers, a bit more. That's 3 hours. And then Toulouse, a little longer at 4 hours. Next slide, please. Okay. Beaux Village has got a landing page specifically dedicated to the North American market or the American market. If you want to have a look at that, there's a QR link on the next slide. If you could just move on to that, please. Next slide, please. There you go. So that's me finished. I guess we're going to move on to questions now. If you want to have a look at the QR code and you want to just click on that, that will take you to the landing page on our website. And from there, obviously, you can get in touch. Thank you very much.
The question we received are pretty personal. So I invite the person who asks them to get directly in touch with Antony, like your opinion on the city of Pau. Where do we find more info on properties in the city of Béziers? For each and every one of you, I think it's good to get personally in contact. Even someone asked us if we need a car in your region. So for all these specific questions, I invite you to get directly in touch with Beaux Village. But before we leave, I wanted you, you are a great ambassador to your region, Antony. We can feel the love of the area, the neighborhood, the region where you live. Could you share with us one story or an example of a client whose life was truly transformed by making the move to this part of France? I'm sure you have many. Just one.
There are many, and there are so many success stories. I think I would say that 98% of people who buy through us, it's probably one of the best decisions they will ever make in their lives. Because no matter the reason they buy, it might be a second home that they're going to use regularly and bring their family out and watch their kids grow up through their holiday home, or a permanent move whereby they're moving out as a retired couple, and it just gives them a new lease of life. The community spirit of the people here, the friendship groups of the people here is just wonderful to see. And whereas I mean, I'm from the UK, and I think we lost that community spirit a long time ago in the UK. And I don't know what it's like in the US, but I'm guessing it's probably the same in many areas. Whereas here, we still have that village sort of feel, and everyone helps one another. And probably one of the stories, many stories I could tell is when people have a crisis, a medical crisis, and everyone rallies round to help. And you might be an elderly lady and your husband is taken into hospital, and there is always a neighbour on hand to help, to, if you don't drive, to run you to the hospital, to take you to your shopping, to do the things that needs to be done. So in terms of the community spirit and the feel of the place, it's something which stays with me. And I know that if I had an issue, then there are always people that will be there to help. And that goes for my family as well. And I hope that, the majority of people that we sell houses to feel the same way, because a lot of these things have happened to them.
Beautiful. And you are the living proof of that nice experience, I want to say. Very quickly, Robin asked us if there are language schools in the area to learn French. How does it work? French American school or French schools dedicated to kids who wants to learn, or adults as well?
Well, it depends. There are schools that are principally dedicated. There are language schools in the area. There are nearby to where I am. There is a dedicated language school in Beaux, which helps settle people into the area and gives them either a basis of the French language or a more in-depth knowledge of the French language if you're coming to work in the French community. There are individual tutors. There are, in the area that I am, I know there are language groups that are set up. So there is a flow of information between the French community and the English-speaking community, so that they can get together and speak to improve both sides of the language, the English for the French and the French for the English speakers. And again, it's part of the community spirit, and that is obviously free. And that's probably the best way you can learn, is by immersion. Yes, there are schools you can go to. Yes, there are tutors. There's plenty of that. Not a problem.
What was the name of the town that we see on the Occitanie slide, if you remember?
Which one? Carcassonne?
Carcassonne. Okay,
Yeah.
probably. Okay, someone asked the question. Let me see very quickly if you live in the property full time, what's the lowest deposit percent you might get?
Lowest deposit percent in what sense? Sorry, I don't understand the question.
Yeah, Haifa, if you can specify more. Also, would you get a mortgage pre-approval from a French lender the way you would in the US?
Yes, absolutely. And these are things that you have to do before you come looking at property, because then you know what sort of budget you've got to work with. If you come looking and then all of a sudden you realize that you can't borrow the amount of money that you thought that might be available to you, it changes everything for us as an agent, and for you as a buyer. It changes your perspective on what you can buy and perhaps the region and area that you can buy in. So make sure that you do your work before you come, and don't just think it's an automatic given that you will get the money. You have to go through the process before you come and look at the property, so that you know how much you're dealing with.
Okay, I have more details. If you live in the property full time, what's the lowest deposit percent for down payment? I still don't understand the question. I'm not sure to understand the question.
Okay, these are maybe these things, I don't know. But if you have to pay when you purchase a property, you have to pay a 10% deposit, which is held in escrow by the notaire. So you have to have that amount of money as a deposit anyway. And a mortgage company, the vast majority of them, if you're pre-approved, you're in a solid financial position, the vast majority of them are asking for 30% of the purchase price in your own personal funds, and they will then loan you up to 70% of the rest.
Very nice. Oh, I was about to ask Vanessa to make the QR code appear. It seems that, okay, beautiful. You can scan it in the next few minutes. Thank you so much, Antony, for this very complete and presentation that I mentioned it at the beginning. It comes from your brain, but we felt that it came also from your heart. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much. It's a little late in the day, and it's kind of the end of our work day and beyond for us. So I hope people enjoyed. And if there are any questions, we are here as a company to help. But as I said, we cover a big swathe of the Southwest. So if you're looking towards the Med, it will not be me that will be dealing with you personally. It will be somebody else, but we will put you in touch with the people who can help.
Amazing. And I want to mention it's 11:40 a.m. in California and 2-3 p.m. on the East Coast. So you still have a full day there to continue. Thank you so much. Stick with us just a few minutes. I wanted to recap the program for our audience for this Living the French Dream edition. Where to relocate North Paris and Hauts-de-France. It's tomorrow at noon Eastern Time, 6 p.m. French time. On Wednesday, October 1st, this coming Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, 6 p.m. in France. Where to relocate. We're going to talk about the southeast and the French Riviera. On Thursday at noon Eastern Time, 6 p.m. French, where to relocate. The region will be the Northwest, Loire and Bretagne. On Friday, October 3rd, noon Eastern Time, one more time, and 6 p.m. French time, where to relocate. Northeast, Bourgogne and Alsace. It's a full Tour de France that we are having on Frenchly this week. And thank you again for joining us. We're going to leave with the video of our sponsors, France Formation and Currencies Direct. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bonjour and welcome. I'm Alison Lunès, founder of Your Transformation, and we're thrilled to be sponsoring this year's Dream Life in France Summit with Frenchly. At Your Transformation, we help individuals, couples, and families turn their dream of living in France into reality with expert support for visa applications, relocation planning, and everything that comes after you arrive in France. Whether you're just starting to explore your move or you're ready to take the leap, we're here to guide you every step of the way. Start by checking out our book, Foolproof French Visas, and attending one of our free monthly Q&A sessions. And let's start making your dream life in France happen together.